So one important thing we need to be able to do with functions is graph them. So if we have a function here like a t of x equals 8 minus x squared, we need to find some points. Now, functions have inputs and outputs. So the notation t of x just represents the y value. We could also write this equation as y equals 8 minus x squared. It means the same thing. So what we need to do is we need to find some points. Now, as we go through the semester here, or the term, we're going to learn some different ways, some different shortcuts, so that just by looking at this equation, you should know exactly what it looks like. And you'll know that in about a couple months here when we get to chapter 10, actually chapter 9. Anyways, so let's pick some values. Now you may not know which values to pick, so you might just start with 1, 2, and 3. And so we're going to find y, which is t of x, meaning we're going to take 0 and plug it into x, and we get 8 minus 0 squared. Well, what is 8 minus 0 squared? 8 minus 0 squared is 8. And hopefully you have some experience with this in the past, but we're just plugging them in. Plug in 8 minus 1 squared. 8 minus 1 squared is 8 minus 1. Remember, order of operations. Okay, and you know what? Let's go ahead and let's go to 2. All right, 8 minus 2 squared, that's 8 minus 4, which is 4. Now, we may want to go see what happens when we go to the left also. So we have some points. First of all, let's go and graph these. We've got 0, 8. We've got 1, 7. And we've got 2, 4. And then if we plug a couple more points, we've got 8 minus negative 1 squared. Now this is important. You got to put that in parentheses. All right, and so negative 1 squared this is 8 minus 1, which is 7. And if we plug in 2, 8 minus negative 2 squared, that's 8 minus 4, which is 4. So we get the point negative 1, 7 there, and the point negative 2, 4 right there. And so we get a shape. Now, when we're graphing, there's actually an infinite number of points. Okay, the domain for this, now let's think about that for a moment. Domain is the possible x values. So we ask ourselves, what x values can we plug into here that would not cause a problem? Well, you could plug any x value. There's no number that would not have a problem. You could do 8 minus 5 squared, 8 minus 7 squared, 8 minus any 2.3 squared, 8 minus a third squared. You can plug any number because we can square anything. So there's no limit to the domain. So that's the first thing we need to realize. And so it's all real numbers. These are the numbers from negative infinity to infinity. Now again, infinity is not really a number. This just how we represent all real numbers. All right. Now, so this continues on forever. We can get all the decimal values in between, and so we connect the points. It also continues on forever in the same way. Now, if you graph this on a graphing calculator, you'll see it goes to the end of the screen, which really means it goes on forever, and something like that. When you're graphing it by hand, it's a little tricky. Now, to graph this on MyOpenMath here, you're going to recognize the pattern. It's that kind of pattern there. And the way this works when you do this on the computer is you're going to click on these 2 points. You're going to click on that point at the top, click on that point down here, and you'll get that. Okay? So for now, it's okay, actually, if you just go to your graphing calculator and you graph this, and then you kind of copy the graph down by looking at your graphing calculator. That's totally fine also. Now let's talk range. Range is the y values. So we look up at the y values are the height. This point has a height of 8. This point has a height of 4. The y value is 4. Remember, this is our x-axis. This is our y-axis. So what is the highest y value that is in red here? See, there's a whole bunch of y values in red. There's a y value of 1 right there. There's a point that has a y value of 2. There's a point that has a y value of 2.1. 2.89 is right about here. So these y values all have points, all right? You can think of it like this. This little blue line here touches points right here, touches points there. And since these goes on forever, there would be points down here. I haven't drawn them in, but they go to the bottom of the graph and they continue forever. So there would be points down there. Is there any red points up here at 9? No, there's not. Or 10 or anything. There's no points above 8. Now, I know I graphed it kind of sloppy by hand there, but the key is that the highest y value there is 8. So there is one at 8. We're going to put a hard bracket in interval notation because it includes 8. There is one that has a point at 8. There's nothing above 8. And then our points go down to infinity, negative infinity that is. It goes down forever. So the lowest point we say is negative infinity. All right. So that's the idea. All right. Hope that helps. Again, for now, we're graphing it by hand, or you can graph it on your graphing calculator.